William C. Sullivan, Hospital Corpsman Chief. In '55, I graduated high school. I signed up for the Navy in June of that year. About 2 weeks after I'm out of high school, I went to boot camp in Bainbridge, Maryland. And then after we went through the boot camp, I got assigned a commissary school in Rhode Island. Newport, I couldn't think of the name. And then I was in there for about 6 months, not 6 months, say 3 months. And the chief said, "You're not interested in this?" And I said, "No, I'm really not." And he said, "Okay, you're gone." So they sent me down from there to Norfolk to a cruiser, USS Albany, CA 123. And when I went in there, I went to the personnel and they said, "What do you want to be?" And I said, "A machinist mate," because most of my high school stuff was in shop work. So he said, "You don't want to go down them holes." And this guy was from 3 miles from my hometown, Shenandoah, Pennsylvania, and I lived in Monterey City. And he said, "Nah, how about fire controlman?" And I said, "Oh, fire control." And I thought it was fighting fires, but it wasn't. It was electronics for the big guns, the 8-inch guns. So I was in that about 18 months, and I was overseas in the Mediterranean. When I was overseas in the Mediterranean, I transferred ships from the Albany to the Salem, which was another heavy cruiser, for a friend, because his brother was on the Salem, and I was going to swap. His brother was going to go to the Albany, and I was going to go to Salem. But when the Albany pulled off to go back to Newport News, me and the brother were on the Salem. Well, the captain wanted me because I was a brand new recruit, and so I was on there, I guess about a year, and I said, they put out a thing to be a hospital corpsman, and I said, "Oh, that sounds good, I'll try that." So I became a hospital corpsman. They sent me to school from there, Bainbridge, Maryland. Went to school, got out of there and went to Philadelphia Naval Hospital. Was in there for about a year. Then I made third class, and they didn't keep third class at that time on the wards. They transferred them to a clinic. There was no clinics open for me, so they transferred me to North Philadelphia to the Naval Aviation Supply Center, which was an industrial medicine dispensary, which was great. No weekend duties or nothing. So I was there until I got out in June of '59. And then I got out and I went back home, looked for a job, couldn't get a job. The steel went on strike in June that year. There was no jobs. So I ran out of money, and I asked my mom for $10 to go out on a date on a Saturday night. And I went down to the bar, and I walked in and my buddies were sitting there, and I said, "For 2 goddamn cents, I go back in the Navy." And Tommy Broker threw me 2 cents, and I went back on Monday. Then I went down to receiving station, went through the whole thing to get back in the Navy, and they sent me to Argentia, Newfoundland. And I asked for the Fleet Marine Force, but they sent me to Newfoundland. So I went to Newfoundland, and I woke up there half drunk one time about 6 o'clock, and I said, "What the hell did I do?" Thinking, wow, like you're on a happy binge going all the way through this. So I did 18 months in Newfoundland. I went back to Portsmouth Naval Hospital in Virginia for pharmacy school. And then when I got out of there, I went to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, FMF, and I was down with them for a while, did some runs with them to Viegas and that kind of stuff. And then I got transferred from there up to Lakehurst, New Jersey. No, McGuire Air Force Base, New Jersey. There's 2 Navy squadrons on the Air Force Base, and I was with VR-6, which was a repair squadron. And then I went to VR-3, which was the flying squadron, and they did away with VR-6. So then I was there, and I couldn't make rate. It seemed like they were, every time I took my test for E6, I'd get held back and quoted. One time I was quoted by a 0.02 points. So I thought, oh boy, and they said, well, they should. I said, no, they have a cutoff date, that's it, you just don't, if it's 0.01, you're still. So I put in to be electrician because the Navy sent me a letter saying, we're holding you back 13 times you quoted on this test and not been promoted, so therefore we're holding you back, you can change your rate. So I put in for electrician school, but I also already had put in for x-ray school. And both of them come in at the same time. They said, we got 2 orders for you, one for x-ray school and one for electrician. What do you want? So I love the hospital course. I said, I'll take the x-ray. So I went to x-ray school, thinking that from x-ray school I can go to medical repair. Not knowing that they usually only take people that come out of Bethesda Naval Hospital for medical repair x-ray techs, not out of anywhere else. And then to get in there, you had to have some kind of pull to get in there. So anyway, I was sent to Lakehurst, New Jersey then, and while I was in Lakehurst, New Jersey as the x-ray tech, the captain calls me in on Lincoln's birthday at 12 o'clock at night, and I'm thinking, oh God, what's wrong now, you know? So I go in, he's sitting in his desk, in his pajamas, bedroom slippers and all. He said, I hate to call you in at this time, he said, but you're on 15-minute standby to go to Vietnam. They want an 8404, which is a Marine Corps, and a second-class x-ray technician. I said, why did they put my name on it? I'm the only one here. You know? So I went back home, packed my sea bag, and I lived out of that for 3 months, 15-minute standby. No matter where I went in the Navy, if I went from the commissary, my home to the commissary on a Saturday, I'd call a base and say, I'm leaving my home, I'm going to Fort Dix commissary. When I get to Fort Dix, I'd call them and say, I'm at Fort Dix. When I'm leaving Fort Dix, I said, I'm leaving Fort Dix to go home. When I got home, tell them I'm going home. I was on that standby, so. And then 3 months after that, they took me off the 15-minute standby and put me on a 6-month standby. But that's because I put in for submarine school to get out of going to Vietnam. So when I was, I went to went through the whole thing, and then orders come in giving me submarine school. They took me off of the waiting list or the call list for Vietnam, and I went from there in December up to submarine school.